Hello, everybody, and happy Monday. For the last 5 weeks, all I've talked about is war and money and finance. Well, war is on the front pages, every day now, and our job is to keep you ahead of things. So let's move ahead past the election, and what both candidates are going to have to deal with is the debt. So we just passed $35.3 trillion of debt. It's a staggering number. We can't even comprehend this number, but try to put it in perspective. Let's just pretend that we don't add a single dollar to the debt. We just stop right now. And plus, you don't have to pay interest on the debt. So 35.3 trillion stays the same. And let's just pretend we're going to try to pay it off. If we tried to pay, oh, I don't know, $1 million an hour, it's a lot of money. $1 million every hour, 24/7, every day, it never stops. How long would it take us to pay off 35.3 trillion of debt? The answer is 4,023 years. So for all of you that will be alive in the year 6047, you'll get to see the debt paid off. So let's play it out. 10 million an hour? Well, that'd be 400 years to pay it off. 100 million an hour. I guess it'd be 40 years. A billion. That's a lot of money. A billion every hour. I guess we could pay it off in 4. Is that going to happen? Of course not. Now I'm going to say something that will surprise you. In some ways, the debt is not the real problem. Countries can amass even ever more debt, as long as there are buyers. A lot of times, the central banks in their own countries will just print up money and buy the debt. The real problem is this: as the debt expands, government expands, and government elbows out private industry. And private industry is where we get our wealth. And it's from our wealth we get the taxes where we might be able to pay back some of this debt. And that's our issue. We're now in this straight line up of exponential growth in the debt, but that also means exponential growth in government, which is, again, is pushing out the wealth producers in our economy. So how is this showing up? Well, in some ways, you're seeing it just in our society. You see these zombie people who have now been just wiped out in this economy because unless you're employed by government, you're really not getting a job right now. And so what happens? They're getting government checks, but it goes toward drugs or alcohol, and you see them walking out on the streets, and government never puts this together. By government growing, it's not helping people. And the other place it's showing up is in banking. Remember a couple of weeks ago, Walt talked about Warren Buffett selling his Bank of America stock? And remember, Warren sits on the board of Bank of America, or at least used to, and he's been unloading the stock after owning it for decades. Wait, Warren sees something in the banking sector. And then speaking of that, last week we saw Bank of America had 25,000 customers whose accounts went to zero. They log in, either they got the little dash or zero in their accounts, no explanation. They weren't answering the phones. Wait, what's going on at B of A? And then one more piece. We are seeing stresses across the banking system in something called the overnight repo rate. We've talked about this before, where banks who need cash, they can send collateral up to the Federal Reserve. A lot of times it's treasury bills, treasury notes, good collateral. And the Fed will send down cash because the bank needs cash just for overnight. Well, the interest rate on that is usually about that. Not much, it's just an overnight loan. And then the next day, once your cash stress has been recovered from, you reverse it. So they call it a reverse repo. They send the collateral back down, you send the cash back up, and it's kind of the grease in the system. What we've seen over the last 3 or 4 days, the repo rates are rising. That's one of two things. Either there is not enough liquidity in the system, there's not enough cash moving. I don't think that's the issue. Or number two, there's counterparty risk. Something's going wrong in the banking system where the banks aren't trusting each other, which might go back to the B of A thing, which we all talked about and Warren Buffett is doing. I don't know. I mean, they don't tell Greg in Albuquerque, but something's going on here. And neither one of the candidates is addressing it. It never comes up at debates, but both of them, whoever's elected, is going to have to deal with this after November 5th. And with that, I'll turn it over to Walt.